Hi, friends. Father Scott again. Our first reading for today is from St. Paul's second letter to Timothy. And in this letter, he writes to a younger leader in the church from prison. And he's kind of giving some general instruction on how to be a good leader in the church. And in the course of our reading, he tells Timothy some things that we would kind of expect to hear, but then he tells him one thing that we might not expect to hear. Listen to what he says. St. Paul writes, "This saying is trustworthy. If we have died with him, we shall also live with him. If we persevere, we shall also reign with him. But if we deny him, he will deny us." Now, we would probably expect to hear all of this. If that God asks us to die with him, he asks us to leave behind all other connections, or at least place them beneath our connection to him, to make our allegiance to him the prime motivation in our lives for everything that we do. That's what it means to die with him, so that we can live with him, so that the kind of life that filled him through his dedication to doing the will of the Father will live in us too. And then he says also, if we persevere, we shall also reign with him. Just as Jesus followed his ministry all the way through the cross into the victory of the resurrection, so we are called through our whole lives to keep moving forward, to keep persevering in the faith. And we can expect then to reign with Christ if we do that. And then he says, but if we deny him, he will deny us. And that, of course, is something that we would expect Paul to say, that if we turn our backs on Jesus, Jesus will respect that decision, that Jesus will not force us against our will to enter heaven. If we deny him, he will deny us. Then Paul says something kind of interesting, and maybe something that we wouldn't expect. If we are unfaithful, he remains faithful, for he cannot deny himself. Now, that's kind of an interesting twist, because given everything else that Paul has just said, particularly that previous sentence where Paul said, but if we deny him, he will deny us, then he says, if we are unfaithful, he remains faithful, for he cannot deny himself. It is true that if we deny Jesus, then he will deny us. That if we turn our back on him, then he will respect that decision. But that doesn't mean that he will stop loving us. That doesn't mean that he will give up on the new covenant that has been written in his blood. He will continue to love us. He will continue to be reaching out to us and calling us back to our relationship with him, and through him to our loving Heavenly Father. Nothing will change that. So even if we deny him, he will respect that. And he will allow us to go our own way, even though that way lies death. But even if we are unfaithful, he will remain faithfully in love with us. And he will be waiting for us to come back to him, to renew the covenant relationship that he has opened up for us, to work the reconciliation that is the hallmark of everything that Jesus stands for, bringing all things together into the household of our loving Heavenly Father. So these words of St. Paul bring forth to us again just the shocking depth and persistence of God's love for us. If we deny him, he will deny us. He will love us, but he will respect our choice. But he will love us, and there's nothing that we can do to change that. May God help us to live always in his love. May God help us to die with him so that we can live with him, to persevere in faith so that we can reign with him, to never deny him, and to always remember that even when we are unfaithful, he is faithful, and nothing can change his love for us. God bless you, and I'll be talking to you again soon.